Bitcoin will always be the top crypto. So many people in the crypto community, when they talk about the future, they talk in this uncertain tone. They're not sure whether Bitcoin will succeed. They're not sure if it will be the number one premier crypto. They're not sure if it is destined for that greatness or if it will be another crypto. And so you often hear this phrase. They say something along the lines of, when they talk about the future, they say, "Oh, I don't know if it will be Bitcoin, but some crypto will likely succeed." So they're bullish on crypto, but they're not necessarily willing to stake themselves on Bitcoin and say that Bitcoin is going to be the premier currency or cryptocurrency. But I've thought about this, and I actually will be willing to stake my reputation on that. And I would say that Bitcoin will almost certainly be the premier cryptocurrency, and not in the sense that we're going to have some weird hyper Bitcoinization or Bitcoin is going to beat out all the other chains. I'm not a maximalist in that sense. But I do certainly think that if you look at all of the advantages and features and network effects that Bitcoin has, you're never really going to be able to replicate that. So I wanted to make a video where I went over a few of these advantages that Bitcoin has and truly make my case and state my claim on why I think Bitcoin will always be top dog, why it will always be number one, why it will always be the best, at least in terms of from a store of value standpoint. So I think the first thing I'd like to say in general is, let's at least talk about it on a technical level. Has any altcoin ever really truly taken market share away from Bitcoin? None really. I mean, there's been times during irrational exuberance cycles, like the crazy bull runs, where Ethereum and Ripple have gotten close to something like half of Bitcoin's market cap. And people always talk about this. They used to talk about this a lot more than they talk about it now, because now I think the market has evolved and has gotten a lot more mature. But the term used to be the flippening, and the flippening was where Ethereum would actually flip Bitcoin, and then there was the rippling, where Ripple would actually flip Bitcoin. But neither of those events actually happened. I believe Ethereum got close. They got about half of the total market cap of Bitcoin, but that was it. That was as close as they ever got, and they've been on a downtrend pretty much ever since. But even Ethereum and Ripple, I would say they have never truly been able to challenge Bitcoin's absolute dominance. They've never been on a level where people are truly unsure. It's only been, again, Ethereum has only gotten halfway there. It's never been neck and neck, and we're not sure exactly who's going to win, and it's a really intense fight. It's never been like that. It's always been, Bitcoin has been completely on a league of its own, always the top dog, and it's always been a question of who's coming in second place, essentially. There's never going to be, I think, a flippening in the future. I'm going to state this now. I don't think there's going to be a flippening in the future. I don't think it's going to be some kind of god chain that is going to flip Bitcoin and do better than it from a pure market share and crypto dominance perspective. Certainly, I think even the ones that are technically superior, even though they are technically superior, they still can't manage to take that market share away. So that was the first technical thing. The other thing is, let's talk about the main actors when it comes to Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin, obviously the miners. So will the miners ever move from Bitcoin to other chains? And I'm generally doubtful of this. I think miners who are supporting Bitcoin usually have much more in mind than simple profit. If you are just a profit-oriented individual, there's a lot cheaper chains that you can mine that have a much lower cost of entry, where you don't need some massive factory in order to mine, and you can also make a lot more profit. So that is the advantage of altcoins and other cryptos as opposed to Bitcoin. And yet still, Bitcoin has this obscene amount of hash power, all of the electricity that is put towards building this thing out. And so obviously Bitcoin is in that sense, again, in a league of its own. The miners are not willing to support, let's say, other chains just for profit. In this case, there's also this interesting thought experiment where I know people mentioned a while back about this death spiral concept, where as the price of Bitcoin goes down, the miners will start turning off their miners, and as the miners turn off their miners, the block, because of the way the block times work and the difficulty retargets only every 2 weeks, If half of the miners suddenly leave because it becomes unprofitable for them to mine, then you will have this death spiral situation where the next retarget will take so long because you have to produce all of the blocks until that retarget time happens. But the theory in general holds that there will be people who will still mine. They will mine Bitcoin even at a loss because they are incentivized. Because if you own 1 million Bitcoin, let's say, or 500,000 Bitcoin, or 100,000 Bitcoin, you have so much money invested in this system that it would actually make less sense for you to give up on it. It would actually make more sense for you to mine at a loss so that you can recover the system, so that you can recover the amount of money and Bitcoin that you have in the system. So this is one of the advantages that Bitcoin has. Again, I don't think many other proof of work coins really have this kind of miner, I would say, promise to uphold when it comes to Bitcoin and the network. So again, Bitcoin wins out. I don't think miners would ever move to some other kind of god chain. Another point, can a crypto ever really testify to the amount of time that Bitcoin has existed? No. No crypto can ever say that they have existed longer than Bitcoin because Bitcoin was the very first crypto ever. So Bitcoin has, by default, wins the oldest argument. And so when people look at things, they generally, especially when it comes to things like store of value, being the first is always going to be the most prestigious. It's always going to be the rarest thing. And so if there's suddenly some great chain that's made tomorrow that's faster or better than Bitcoin, that's great, but it will never have been the first. Bitcoin will always have that advantage, and no one will ever be able to take it away from Bitcoin. So again, another advantage goes to Bitcoin. Sorry, alts. So another point, can any crypto ever claim that they have ever resisted more attacks than Bitcoin? And I would say no, again, because Bitcoin is really the target of regulators. It's the target of co-opters, say Jihan Wu, Roger Ver. It's the target of nationals, so nations that are banning it. It's the target of mass propaganda and misinformation campaigns. When we look at Craig Wright, for example, who says he is Satoshi and things like that. So Bitcoin, more than any other chain, I would say, has been attacked, and it has survived all of these attacks, which gives it this anti-fragile element, this anti-fragile aspect to it that no other chain can truly compete with. Again, you can build a really technically sound chain, you can fill it up with a lot of users, but but you can guarantee that it's not going to be able to withstand the amount of attacks that Bitcoin has had, both from within the community and from without. So again, point goes to Bitcoin, altcoins, sorry guys. And then finally, this one is a little bit more of a superficial point, but the price. So has any other coin ever truly equaled Bitcoin price? Again, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but no coin has really ever matched that market cap. And the thing is you look at Bitcoin and you look at the crypto ecosystem, and there is that division between Bitcoin as being top dog and then all of the other alts. And there are thousands of other altcoins, thousands and thousands of other altcoins. And despite thousands of other altcoins, thousands of different ways of doing crypto, thousands of different methods of doing Bitcoin, even thousands of clones, thousands of forks, well, not thousands of forks maybe, but many, many forks, many, many clones, many copies of Bitcoin, some that are better even, none of them have truly been able to match Bitcoin's price appreciation or market adoption. None of them have really ever been able to challenge it in that sense. So I think all of those reasons put together, I think it's very hard for anyone to truly ever say that Bitcoin won't be top dog. I think it's kind of weak of people to say that they're not sure. I'm actually quite sure. I'm pretty sure it will be Bitcoin at the end of the day. After all is said and done, if crypto is going to succeed or fail, it's going to be on the back of Bitcoin. It's not going to be on the back of any other coin, I don't think. It's definitely going to be Bitcoin as top dog, the premier cryptocurrency. It is going to be the best. It was the first there. It has the strongest network. It is the hardest to attack, and it is the most anti-fragile one. Again, so there it is. So I think Bitcoin is the best. And that is what I'm going to stake my claim and my bet on. So let me know what you thought about this video. Please give it a like. Let me know in the comments if you think there is any way any coin could actually defeat Bitcoin at its own game. Personally, well, I'm not very auspicious on that prospect. So Again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and I will see you guys next time.